Hey, it's Scott Tempesta from Sailing Anarchy. We have a treat for you. It's a treat for us. This is called an NZ37, designed and built by a really famous designer down under named Jim Young. If you don't know who he is, Google him. It's just amazing the volume of work that he's done, some really recent super fast boats, and this is one of the earlier boats. The first boat was built in 1964, and it's going to be fun to show you the features of a boat that was conceived in 1964. So the backstory on this boat is really an interesting one. This is one of 4 that were shipped from New Zealand to Long Beach, California in 1969/1970. The idea was Stan Miller, who was a huge sailboat dealer back in the 60s and 70s, was going to sell these things. The problem is, it just didn't work. Southern California boat buyers were buying all the relatively new plastic fantastics, right? The Cows, the Newports, the Ericssons, the Rangers. Trying to sell a wooden boat, a double planked Kauri wood New Zealand boat, at probably a fair bit more than what the fiberglass boats were, that was a no-go. But this is one of the 4. And interesting fun fact, there's 3 of these things in San Diego, but none of them like this one. This boat was meticulously maintained by its original owner, and the new owner here in San Diego is doing the same job with it. It is just a beautiful, incredible thing. Why don't we take a step back and take a look at what's going on aft on this boat? I'm in the cockpit of the NZ37. This boat's going under some slight modifications. You can tell here there's some fresh teak right here. Couple interesting things about this boat I want to share right away, just in terms of the numbers. So it's 37 feet long. It's only 9.5 feet wide. It only weighs 12,000 pounds, which is not really that much. It draws about 5.5 feet. So those are definitely vintage kind of numbers. And the fact that it's so narrow, it just contrasts to a lot of the boats that just kept getting wider. So it's really nice to see how big this cockpit is, right? This is a long, narrow boat, and it's really great that they dedicated this much space to the cockpit. Why? Because you can hang out here with friends. I mean, how many people, everyone's wearing masks, of course, but how many people could just sit here? 8 people? Pretty comfortably, especially with this area back here. I mean, it's nice that they actually thought about, well, people are gonna sit here, people are gonna mostly be in this area, and you have plenty of room to do just that. So here's a really unique thing that you hardly ever see on any boat. So this boat has a relatively high cabin house, which actually looks really good in proportion to the boat. It does. And it gives you tons of light down below and massive amounts of headroom virtually all the way through the boat. But you'll notice a couple things. The height of the cabin is asymmetric. It's a little taller here than it is here. And you'll also notice that the companionway is a little offset. Now, I'm not sure why they did that when they could have moved it there and made it center to the cockpit, but they did. So when you have a super high house, it makes it pretty difficult to see over. So you got to do this and a lot of that and whatever, and hopefully somebody can tell you that you're about to hit something before you hit it. So it's just part of what happens when you go up on the cabin house, and then they just added this weird sort of asymmetric thing. I believe the cabin house levels out in front of the mid-boom Traveler, which you didn't see a lot of back then. I mean, you saw end of the boom sheeting, but here's the problem. You can't have a Traveler here. You can't, I mean, you really cannot. You could have a Traveler through there, but the tiller would hit it. Or you could put it on the cockpit sole, but then you have a Traveler like that long, and you'd have to move it forward at the end of the boom. So they did mid-boom. Traveler and all the adjustments are right up there. It cleans up the cockpit, and it's just a really nice way to handle all the different parts of the boat and make it flow pretty well through here. So as you can see, this is a tiller steered boat. Most boats were in that vintage. You could put a little wheel back here, but So it's nice, it's more direct. One thing it does do though, it tends to clear out people in the cockpit when you tack, but that's just the way it is. It's got the original Barlow winches from Australia. Couple of nice cubby holes right here because it doesn't have the traditional lazarettes. It does have one right here, which is very nice. Stow stuff there, dock lines, whatever. It's clean, it's open. It's a very cool place to be, actually. So you can't help but notice the color of the decks and the cabin, right? Blue. Well, this is the original color. It's obviously been repainted and so nicely done. This is a 1967 boat. That's old, and it's a wood boat. And the fact that this boat has been maintained like it has, painted like it has, and finished like it has, I mean, it's really beautiful. They kept a lot of the things original on this boat, which you have to appreciate, right? If you're looking to buy a classic car, a 67 car, you know, you can either find a resto mod, right, where they've done a bunch of modifications to it, bigger wheels, all kinds of bullshit like that, or you can check one that's original. Now, this boat is probably about as original as it gets. Sure, some things have been replaced, sure, some paint, but all the major components look to be exactly where they were, which is cool. Speaking of components, so you don't see this every single day. This is a wire main halyard that's on a winch that has a lock on it. And it's just like, I haven't seen one of these in decades. So it's OG all the way around in regards to that. So if I challenge you to find a Barlow winch that's wire that has a lock on it. They're really hard to find, but it's beautiful. So people look for vintage boats all the time, right? There's certain types of people that do. Hell, I bought a vintage boat. I bought a 1976 Ericsson 35 Mark II. I mean, it's a vintage boat in every definition. So how easy are these vintage boats to sail? Easy peasy. On this boat, as soon as you learn how to deal with the wire main halyard and the wire halyard winch, that's really about the only complication that this boat would have relative to anything else. They did add a roller furling genoa to the boat, which makes perfect sense, right? Nobody wants to go up there and raise and lower the genoa and all that sort of stuff. So they put a furler on it, which is really nice. But just in terms of the dimensions and the features, this is an easy boat to sail. It has to be. It's just Jim Young designed boats that were fast, went through the water nice, and this is one of those. So if you're looking vintage and you're looking for a boat like this, well, like I said, there's 3 of them in San Diego, but if you want to know how these things are to sail, I think they're really nice for their era. So up here on the pointy end, where not much goes on, really, except for some old school anchoring. Now look at this. This has got to be the original issue windlass. No, it's not electric. You put a handle there and you crank the goddamn thing. But that's just the way they did it. It's just so great that they kept it this way. It's got a double bow roller because this boat probably did some serious anchoring one time. Fairly sure that's original, but if it's not, it's substantial and it'll give you some options for anchoring. Where does the anchor go? Well, this is one of the mods that they no doubt did to the boat. They put in an anchor locker here. Well, it might not be. This might actually be original because now that I look at it, it is all wood. So they probably did this when they built the boat, which is pretty nice. There's a giant anchor here. There's lots of chain, lots of road in its own little contained area. So you kind of have to really like how they did some of the features on this boat. She's cruise ready, matey. All right, the main salon of the NZ37. Impressive, right? Light, bright, airy, lots of headroom. It's a really nice place to be. They don't have their curtains on here right now, but you know that they have some just for privacy. It's commodious. I mean, it's big. Very nice settee, really nice table and dinette area to sit. It also table folds down, and turns that into a nice double bed. The boat has amazing amounts of storage and really, really different. So here in one of these little openings, you can see the actual hull we talked about. It's double planked, actually. It's diagonal this way, diagonal this way. It's Kauri wood. It's made in New Zealand, so you know it's made well. I mean, they really perfected the art of wooden boat building for sure. And this boat is an early, but a really nice example of it. If you see the hull, you can see how smooth it is on the outside. It's just nice to know that this boat is so solid. There's no core there. That's just wood, my friend. More storage here, which is nice. You've got your Dorade vents here. And you know, it's not a lot of storage here, but why not make use of what you've got? 3 here, 3 here. You got 3 of the openers on the other side. You got the little rail here, which is nice. Chain plates, here they are. Nicely mounted, they're clean, they clearly don't leak. This is a really well done boat downstairs, and it's a place you'd like to be, for sure. So it's always nice to see how a boat is actually made. We talked about the double layer Kauri wood there, diagonally planked. Take a look at underneath here. Look at the actual guts of the boat. This is solid, solid, solid wood. These are impressive ring frames. Again, no rotting, nothing odd here, no bad wood, just really nicely maintained. And this is without a doubt how the boat was originally made. And I mean, you talk about substantial. I mean, that is impressive. You can see the keel bolts right here. They go through the same wood. And so you know that it's super, super strong there. There's no mystery with this boat. It's obvious how the thing was made. It's obvious that they used really substantial materials. And man, my Ancient 35 ain't made like that. We're in the galley of the NZ37. It's open, it's basic. Obviously he's got an oven coming there, the sink, got the ice box. It does feel refrigerated. I could be wrong, but it's certainly cool in there. Little cutting board there, look at that. That's pretty nice. And this would be the navigation area as well. Nothing open, this doesn't lift up because you've got all the drawers right below. And they're all really nice operating. You know, they open cleanly, close cleanly. It's really nice. You've got the cute little latches to close the door, just more shelves for storage. You don't spend a lot of time here, but here it is. And again, another nice part of the boat for sure. Just aft here of the galley is a quarter berth. That's probably kid size. I mean, that doesn't look that great, but shove the kid back there, put a pillow over his head. You'll never hear from him again. Nice control panel here for all the electronics. Interestingly enough, the engine controls are down there. So where is the engine in this thing? Typically, you'd find them aft, right? They usually be aft of the cockpit. So it's got to be down here, back here. No. How about under here, under the kid quarter berth? There's no engine there. The engine's got to be right under here. It just has to be. Duh, of course it is. Unless it's an electric motor. It's batteries there. Could it be on this side? More batteries. They moved it forward, right? They did for weight, I'm sure. I'll bet they did. Tankage. Oh, wait a minute. Tankage. Jesus. Come on, for God's sake. Hey, wait a minute. Let's go forward and find it. Let's see. Hey, wait a minute. There's the motor. It's really right there. It's forward in the boat, that's for sure. Better than being all the way back there, but I think ideally you'd like it about here, but there's no room for that. So they found room here. So, you know, while you're brushing your teeth, do an oil change or something. You know, it's kind of convenient. Not really. Okay, so the head's got to be in here. Check out this neat little latch. That's really cool. Open it, and there it is. It's a porta potty. Saves you a through hole. Okay, but what also is really interesting about this is this closes off the forepeak, and this closes off the head area. I mean, that's pretty slick. To think about doing that in 1964, well, I couldn't think about doing this today. But it is a really nice way to do all that. A little crowded up here, but good way to get double door privacy. The V-berth is right up there. It's pretty self-explanatory. And there's the front of the boat, the sink, the head, and the engine. And before we go, let's hear a few words from the owner.
My name is Morgan Spriggs, and the boat is Lola, and she's called an NZ37 for New Zealand 37. You know, for us, it's just fun to kind of have a responsibility to kind of preserve the boat and try and keep it original just kind of carry on the history because it's pretty unique. It's kind of a lifestyle, you know. It's kind of, you got to like to tinker with boats and do varnish work and maintain the boat, which is something that we enjoy doing. It's hard to put a cost on certain things like these old wood boats, because if you looked at trying to replace them and build it from scratch, it would be astronomical. And in particular with Lola, you couldn't even find the Kauri wood. That timber's not even available anymore. So the cost is, you know, when you start breaking it down that way, it's almost in some ways priceless in a lot of these old wood boats. But, you know, in the open market, for the used market, you can start cruising through the advertisements and you can find old wood boats for a bargain, you know. And if you have the skills to kind of work on boats and do carpentry and that kind of stuff, it probably pencils out to be fairly affordable. You just have to know that the maintenance costs over the long haul, year after year, is the big cost. We're looking forward to it. We can't wait to kind of get her dialed in and get her out and sail more.
So that's our retro boat on the NZ37. A really interesting boat. Virtually one of a kind, although there's 3 in San Diego, so maybe it's not one of a kind, but this one is cherry. And if you're looking for a vintage boat, you'd be lucky to find something like this. Beautiful boat. We hope you liked it. If you did, there's a like button down there. Do that thing. Please subscribe to the channel. It'd be a good thing for you. And more importantly, it's a really good thing for us. For Sailing Anarchy and for Nobleman Productions, I'm Scott Tempesta. We out.